We'd like to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to the Leadership Forum today. I know you had an exciting time over there at the fashion show. We have participants who participated in that, so we're going to catch their breath real quick. And that's an example of our leadership team. They are everywhere all the time, taking care of everything we need to get it done for you. So let's give them a round of applause. So Mr. Womack is on his way down, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Here you go, self over here, Doctor.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Reginald Garçon. I am out of Maryland, been dancing and teaching for a good minute, but I am here to be part of a co-host with me and Mike Womack as we get a chance to ask some questions with some people that's part of the line dance community. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a few minutes as they introduce themselves. They're going to introduce themselves, let them know where they are and how long they've been line dancing, and then we'll get started with some questions. So we'll start with Mr. Kenny J.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenny J. I've been dancing since 2002. I'm in New Jersey, originally from Baltimore, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
And here I go. I gotta do that next to Kenny and after Kenny. Anyway, hi everybody. My name is Nichol Poyntz. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. And okay, we got Detroit in the house, and I have been line dancing since 97, 8, one of them. So 25 something.
Hello, my name is Arleatha, but they call me. I'm originally from Philadelphia, but I live in Georgia, and I've been dancing maybe 20 plus years and teaching 18 years.
My name is James Rice, partners with my wonderful wife, Jackie. We're out of Los Angeles, and we started dancing in 1994, and we started teaching in 97.
Thank you. Now, in addition to the questions that we do have for our panelists here, there will be an opportunity for you all to ask some questions. So we're going to get started with the very first question. So, how did you all get into line dancing, and what style did you start with?
I'm the youngest of the group. I am a young 67 years old. Anyway, so I'm originally from Baltimore, and somehow I ended up in New Jersey via the military. And I had gone out one night, and I always prided myself on being able to dance. And I had gone out. There was this place called Mahon's, and this DJ named Butter out of Philadelphia. He had this thing at Mahon's, and I went. And everybody was doing the same thing, and it wasn't the electric slide. And I was like, what the hell? And I always felt that I could do what they were doing. So when they were doing it, I'd get on the floor, and as soon as I picked it up, it was a new song. And I was looking around, and with no disrespect to anyone, I said, wait, if she can do this, if he can do that, I think I could be learning this somewhere. And I just started asking questions, and they pointed me to this man, and this guy, I had no clue who it was. His name was Dave Bush. They said we all learned from him. So. And I can go on and on, but the moral of the short of the story is, I went out that night, I met Dave Bush, and the rest of it is history. And it was soul line dancing that I did.
For me, dance has always been a part of my life. So I was a ballet dancer at 5, ballet, tap, jazz. I danced all the way until my senior year of high school. Then I taught to the little kids coming into the dance school. Went on to college. I was a step master for my chapter. So dance was always something that was just in my in what I did. So when I came back to Detroit, our culture in Detroit is all cabaret. So it's like anytime you go out and go to a cabaret, I think it was the Magic I saw for the first time. And I was like, you know, I'm a dancer, so I'm gonna get that dance. And eventually I got it, and there was the NA, and so I was like, all right, so what's next? Where else do I go? And I got a teammate told me about a club on 6 Mile called the Comfort Zone. So actually the first class I went to, Todd P, 5'1", choreographer, Kevin, they were Bad Boys. So I went to their class at first, but then, you know, it was interesting, but it was in a bar. But I really found my first hustle home with Alice Razorback. She's one of our legends in Detroit. And that's where I met Crystal and Lewis, and the rest is like history. I've just been addicted ever since.
Well, my story is coming to, well, dancing is in my background. I did clogging, I did African dance when I was younger, and moved to Georgia. And when I would come home, my sister was hanging out with her. Her name is Kincade. Just going hanging out, and I'm like, what is this? And it's just a feeling you get when you see people on the floor going the same way and doing the same things. I wanted that feeling. And I went back to Georgia, and I couldn't find soul line dancing, so I did country western. That's where I started. So my mentor, my teacher, Sylvia, she rest in peace, she taught me country western. She taught me steps. And then my sister taught me soul line dancing. So that's my history.
Now, I guess 51 years ago, I met this young lady in a disco. So we actually met dancing. So that was how we originally got together. In '94, we took a black cruise called Festival at Sea. And while we were on the cruise, you know, she dragged me down, was, come on, there's line dancing. I don't want to go to no line dancing. But she drove me down. The instructor at that time was Belinda Haywood. So Belinda, you know, we were walking by the room and they were playing James Brown. I was a big James Brown fan. So wait a minute. So let me go in there and see what's going on. And so we went in, and Belinda just turned us out. So that was our first introduction, was through line dancing with Belinda Haywood. She was our first mentor. We bought her VHS tapes, we bought her DVD tapes, we got the disc. I still got that big old 6-pack of her VHS instructionals from back in the day. So, but yes, that's when we started.
First of all, thank everybody for coming to this leadership forum. There's a reason why we're doing this forum. Thank everybody for being here then, okay? I really appreciate it. There's a reason, the purpose why we're doing this forum. It's a 2-part forum. I chose this forum because I want y'all to take a look at and get a perspective from our seasoned line dance people right here, okay? What I mean by seasoned, they've been a while, they've done events, and they've been in the game for a long period of time. This is our first session. Next year, we're going to do a little bit more younger generation perspective. So we get 4 people up there from a different generation and get a different take back on how they feel about the movement of line dance and where we going, okay? Did anybody pose the first question to you already? What was the first question? How do you get started? Okay. Did anybody get a chance to introduce themselves individually? Okay, good. My question right now, and this is one part credit for everybody. How do you start? Where do you think this line dance is going in the next 5 years? Let's start with you, James. Where do you see it going?
Okay, I think, well, personally, I think it falls into sort of 2 categories. Because there's one thing about line dancing which makes it attractive as a sense of community. Because it's a, you know, from our perspective, it's always been health related. So if you listen to Department of Aging, it said the best form of exercise for anybody over 50 is dance. It uses your body. So from that perspective, line dancing is going to be here for a long time because it's always going to have a huge health component, particularly for a more seasoned population. Now, on the flip side of that, you got, you know, we've transitioned our society and our culture from one of production to one of consumption. And when you start start talking about consumption, there's also consumption of content. So you've got people who are making money now without having to really produce anything other than just following what they do. So there's people out there streaming, the influencers and stuff like that, and get paid for that. And that's a sort of a tangent to what's going on in the line dance world, is that you've got this sort of trail ride, you got sort of this individual content production thing, which is going down a path that's not the traditional, let's do this for the health, let's do this for the fun, let's do this for the community thing. So I think that we're gonna have two divergent tracks. I don't think that the traditional line dancing will ever go away, but there is always gonna be people making money off of this, they're figuring out how to do it, and I think there's gonna be a track that continues along that line.
When I look at the future of line dance, I look at the evolution of line dancing. So I think about when I first started, I didn't see a lot of soul line dancing. I saw country western. I live in the South, that's where I'm from. I actually, when I did one of my first events, I had a young man, Caucasian, he wrote me a letter. And he was interested in what I was doing. He saw it, he said, well, we line dance, we call country western, well, what are y'all doing? And I wish I had saved this email. He said, can white people come to your event? I said, sure, because I had white students. So it was something where they were looking in at what we were doing, thought it was something different. And when he came to my event, we were doing metamorphosis. So metamorphosis by way of Baltimore in the Wash, when they did the remix, he looked and he said, I know that dance. I said, it's called metamorphosis. So I call that the evolution of line dancing. So for me, what I saw in the South, I saw what we call Southern Soul. And what I see now, what they're doing with Southern Soul, the music has always been there. They're just putting steps to that music. So line dances is going to be here, but it may not be the way we, 20 years plus, see it in the future. So you have to add on to social media. We like VHS tapes, that's how we got shared, across the country. And even across the country, not even when it was Aileen who reached out to Curtis, and then we started connecting around the country, the old school way. They connect in a different way now. Yeah, I call it the Flintstones and the Jetsons. So I look at it, are you a Flintstone or are you a Jetson? Because we living in a Jetson world, and if you're a Flintstone, you better get on board.
I kind of agree with some of that. I know what James said. He talks about how there would be some divergent tracks. For me, I look at it slightly different, and probably it's my dance background. I was talking to my brother Chris about, we were having a conversation yesterday. So like, if I use my background, when I started dancing, it was jazz, tap, those three. Right, I was 5 years old. Then there became modern dance, African dance, right? And so there was growth and there were branches that branched off, but it was still dancing. So for me, I think line dancing is here to stay. I think it's going to just I think there's going to be divergent tracks, and I think that's okay. So like for me, personally, and no disrespect to anyone, like ballet was not for me. Like pointing my toes and trying to push into the positions, like it wasn't for me, right? And so there's some other dance styles that I see now, it's not for me, but it's okay. Right, because what it's gonna do, all those divergent tracks will give everybody a place to belong and a place to be. So I think what we have to just do is, growth is uncomfortable. So I put my HR hat on, like from when I retired, like growth and change is very uncomfortable for people. Like you said, when I started out, it was like, I know these aren't the right numbers, 15 choreographers, if you didn't learn nothing, if you didn't go to a workshop. Because then it was all like UWD, and we branched out to Kenny, well, for me anyway, we went to the East Coast. Now, with social media, YouTube, all of those other avenues, Like there's just no way to corral, no way to police, no way to control. So what you have to do is just embrace and be okay with it, but also understand respect. I think respect would be a big piece of how we move forward. But all those lanes are all going forward. We're all exercising. We're all getting what we need from it. And so we just have to get comfortable with it and just continue to move forward.
So I agree a lot with what Nichol said, but the future of line dance, I see it. I see line dancing as the path to our existence in urban dance world. And the reason I say that, if you take a look at urban dance styles, there was a time where urban dance styles were regionally specific. In Chicago, they did Chicago stepping. In Baltimore and DC, they did hand dancing. In Philly, they did the bop. In Detroit, they did ballroom. And then you look at who's doing that, and you think about when you were coming up, mom and dad and your friends, everybody was dancing. Who dances now? Everyone pretty much our age. Think of the younger folk. Are they doing these partner dances? Are they still doing that? Are we teaching them that? I don't think we're doing as much as we used to do. But what is still being done? What's bringing younger folk in? Although there is various styles of it. Line dancing, what do you call it? Trail ride, what do you call it? Country and western, gospel. Line dancing is the thing that's bringing people into the dance world. If we lose line dancing in a couple of years, we lose dance altogether. No one's dancing anymore. Think about it. So line dancing is the path to our existence in urban dance.
Thank you all for all of that. Ben, one of the things you mentioned was the whole concept of Flintstones versus Jetsons. And so I really wonder, is there a path as things are emerging to still sort of honor the classics? How can that be done? I know you mentioned, Nichol, something regarding respect. Is there, in terms of a way that can be done? What are some of your thoughts in regards to that?
So I struggle to answer this question because I see things a little bit differently for me, I think, like most. So I feel like that track, that's urban soul line dancing, is going to honor the classics by nature of the people that are in that track of dance. So like, you're in the line of duties, your Baltimore Goodfoot, right? Renegade, or like the classic songs that exist within our community, within the soul urban line dance. Those are going to continue to stay until dancers that do that genre, type of dancing kind of retire or go away. Those like, the trail riders or the steppers or whatever the, TikTok dancers, whatever the appropriate terminology is to refer to the other dance styles, you're not going to be able to corral or tell those groups and those communities, like what dances you could do, what songs you can use. That's a classic song. You shouldn't be using that. So it's like, you can't, we're free. Like, no one owns a song, unless I know there are some choreographers that have patent, like your steps, right, or whatever it is, copyrighted, have copyrighted some of their choreography and some of their things. Outside of that, you can't tell grown folks what to do. Like, they're going to do it. So also, to me, the respect comes back in. Say we do all find ourselves at one location on one dance floor, right? I think somebody said it last night, and I've heard it before, go find your tribe. But when you find your tribe, let's not kick the lady that's standing right here, right? Because, your dance style may be like a little bit more flamboyant than others. And so as long as we keep respect at the forefront of whatever we do as we go forward, for me, I think that's my mindset, because I'm not letting all the other chatter and all the conversation around all of this change. It's not going to affect me and what I'm doing in my local days.
To Nichole's point, and to answer your question, so let's think about it. We say classics. What's classic to me is not going to be classic to the young lady that just came here. So who am I to tell you what the classic dance is? I can share that with you and tell you, in my world, this is the classic. I think the way to keep it going, and it's sort of lends to what Nichol is saying. It depends on where you are. If the folks involved will determine if a dance stays to go. Think about all these dances we choreograph and what's still being done. And why is it still being done? Because people ask for it. Because the DJ still play it. It's not because someone say, hey, there's no list that I know of that say these are the classic dances that you must do. The classic dances that you must do are those dances that you want to do. Recognize those as, now we do pay tribute in the Philadelphia area, and I'll give this to them. We pay tribute to those dances that Dave Bush choreographed, the ones that got us started, and we recognize those as classic. But I think you guys, the people that dance will determine what's classic and what should stay and what should go. You're going to choreograph a dance, and I feel sorry for choreography instructors now. What am I going to teach? It's going to teach you today, and it's gone next week.
That's good. Good point. Good point. One of the things I want to bring up also, we know how 2025, especially with the new dance boots on the ground, how they hit the social media and it took off. It was a whole new light in terms of trail riders. As y'all know, Kenny J, he was on TV actually teaching that dance on boots on the ground. So that's how big that dance really got. But it also introduced us as line dancers to trail rider dancers. You know, my question is, how are we going to be able to coexist in the classrooms for the trail rider dancers? I've talked to some instructors. I went to, are you going to be able to introduce trail riders here? No, I don't want those trail riders in my class. One instructor said, yeah, bring them on. To me, bring them on. We introduce them to our culture. They'll be a part of our culture as well. They have a culture, we have a culture. But my question to you guys, how do you think they will be able to coexist on the dance floor in the teaching setting and also in the party setting as well?
I don't see any issue with the coexistence. You know, I think one of the things that we as more seasoned instructors have to do is we have to share our knowledge, because I know one of the points that Nichol had made was respect. You know, some of the kids just don't know. Because if you haven't told them, if you haven't explained that there's some kind of etiquette involved in line dancing, they don't know. So it's on us to at least be able to share our experiences and our understanding of all of that. In terms of teaching, I know I teach anything, anybody, you know, the class is open. If y'all want to dance, ask me what the dance is. So we mix in a lot of trail ride and regular line dancing into all of our classes, because that's what people are interested in. I'm not going to stop teaching. And we want to bring in young people. We want to bring them in, and we want to bring them in an environment where they're willing to listen to somebody who's been around a little bit longer than they have, and maybe they'll be able to pick up something. We might be able to share a little bit of knowledge with them. So, yeah, that's...
Okay. So, in the South, speaking from where I live, we use, it doesn't really matter what the term is, but that Southern soul music is really big there. And what I see is growing all over the country now. So I look at this as from a safety point of view. When you say, am I going to teach this type of dance or whatever dance it is, we got to teach line dance etiquette to be safe. Right. So I look at it from that point of view, and the steppers, they're younger. That's our next generation of line dancing. And I just, Teresa's not in here. I want to give a shout out to her, because she is trying to, I call her a bridger, okay? Because I had a bridger that bridged me from country western to soul line dancing. And to me, that's the way I look at it. I don't care what you call the dance, it's line dancing, and we got to reach back. Our younger people, they're coming in. Someone taught us, because there's a lot of instructors in Atlanta who are just teaching dances. I said, well, do you know the choreographer? Do you know what that step is called? Safety on the floor. When somebody's dancing wild, dance in your space. Teach that etiquette in your class. So again, I'm looking at this from a safety point of view. I was in an event in Atlanta, and a newbie was dancing next to me. We were doing, got the dance push off on. And she stepped on my pants. I fell back and hit my head, had a concussion. So again, that taught me, first of all, I don't dance around people that I don't know. And again, I know I got off the subject, but I'm looking at this from a safety point of view. okay? I don't care what we call the dance, what kind of dance. We still gotta reach back and teach the younger ones coming in, the new instructors, teach them dance etiquette of how to handle that floor.
So I just got one small, like I know you're gonna move on, just one more comment to add. And Mike, when you asked the question, you kind of preface it, well, you know, there's some instructors that say, like, I don't want the trial writers in my class, what am I gonna do? To me, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? So like if I look at home, we've got beginners, well, actually we don't have beginner classes, but there's classes you can go to every day of the week in Detroit. On the west side, on the east side, in Southfield, in the suburbs, you can go everywhere. So when I meet somebody and they want to look for a class, what are you interested in? Right? So this is where you go. I'll send them in a minute, because like for us, our class, we teach more intermediate and advanced dances, and we teach for travel. So the reaction kind of caught me when I heard some of people like, what? So you're not going to get those dances in my class, in our class, but there are classes you can get that in. So it's like, we have to resist the notion to like, we all have to come together, we all have to be one, we have to blend, we have to merge, it all has to be whatever. We can, you know, things can move in life, everything goes forward, and it's okay. So it's like, don't, no one should be ashamed, like, oh my God, if that's not their style of dance that they want to teach. Like, let's not condemn them, or like, look at that as if it's a bad thing, right? So, it doesn't caught me, so I had to speak on it.
So, the idea of coexisting. First of all, I mean, I've seen recently when the trail rides started blowing up, I saw these postings on Facebook. Oh my God, they're coming to my class and they're asking me to teach boots on the ground. I'm not gonna do it. Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna teach? I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, and my question to you is, why not? Why not? If your class is $5, $10, $15, they pay that. What I ask you not to do is change up your program. Teach what you're going to teach, but the only reason they're asking for boots on the ground is because that's the only thing they know. So when they come in there, you teach them boots on the ground, and then you teach them just her or something else. They say, oh, what the hell is that? And now you're bringing in that new world into your world. But think about it like this. Each of you, think about when you came in, and think about the impact you had. And I can tell you about myself. When I came in, line dancing was pretty much cha-cha up, cha-cha back, cha-cha turn, cha-cha turn. And Ray Boyd and Ed Williams and Vernon, they started doing this jumping stuff. And we went to Detroit to United We Dance, and we was jumping around. And Curtis Good said, what the hell they doing? And the people in Philadelphia that did the style, the line dancing that we did prior to that, I caught flack. Who the hell is that Kenny J think he is doing that? That ain't line dancing. So just think about it. Somebody sees what you're doing as something different than what they refer to as line dancing. So who are we to say that the trail riders aren't doing line dancing?
I think we have a question here, and definitely we want to.
Just one second. Just one second. I did want to. One of the things that Nichol brought up, which was implied, which he didn't specifically put out, is that in her community there's a network of instructors who do a variety of things, and that's one of the things that we all have to do in our own communities to make sure that we're in that network of instructors. Because Jack and I are big on the beginner stuff, but if we send people to All Snap or Karen Penson for the travel style, because you've got to do that. So as an instructor, you need to make sure that you're networking with all of the other local instructors around you, so you can cover all of those types of dance that are out there.
I just add to that too. That's what we do in Atlanta also. So I have, I'm on a band in Atlanta, and I've classified each level, the pearls. That's like going to college. So I teach elementary. We got Alicia Williams, that's junior high. We got Q, that's just camp. You just going in there fun. So in your community, this is how you get together and sit down. You might not teach boots on the ground, but somebody else will. And it's okay.
Reggie Sullivan, ATL. I just like to, because that step buzz thing has took over Atlanta. It is, and a guy that you all may know, Big Moochie, called me up one day. He said, Reggie, there's over 100 steppers groups at this trail ride this weekend. He said, I want you to come with me. I said, Moochie, I'm actually out of town this weekend. He showed me a list. There were almost 300 different groups, and they can be 3, 5, 50, 150, 3. They are all over the place, and they do the chicken neck, what we call it, you know. And that is like we've all been saying. That is a style. That is a style, and I hear it every week. And they come to my class, and then all of a sudden, oh, I like that. What is that? And then they picked up one thing from another, and to the rest of them, they're real big. They go on these trail rides. One, I don't aim to go on no trail ride. I'm not sleeping on the ground. I'm not doing none of that. But there is space for it. So accept them. My question to this esteemed table up here right now is, everything doesn't have to be together. So yes, but it needs, you took the words, but it needs to be welcoming. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, examples of that. Can you give us some examples of how, I think Nichol just gave us one example of how she pointed to where they want to go. But see, you got to understand, when I first came along 20 years ago, they didn't like me. They said I was the advanced group, and I don't know how am I the advanced group in Atlanta? Because we were younger. Age has a lot to do with it. So my only thing is, as we grow, don't be rejected, be welcoming.
Okay, Kurt, I got a question. Real quick.
This isn't it. My name is Curtis Good. I've been doing this for 36 years, and I kind of, but one thing I want to ask everybody in here, why do you dance? That's the first thing I ask, and I ask everybody. I dance, the first thing I say, I met my wife. Second thing, because of the work that I was doing with the police department, I worked undercover with DEA. This took my mind off. So I talked to Kenny J about 15 years ago. I said, man, we're getting old. We can't do what we did 20 some odd years ago. What is he?
Speak for yourself.
Kenny is doing partner dancing. So another thing, in the black community, and I want everybody to be honest, we have fads. We have fads that come and go. Why do we come to this event every year? Be honest. Who has the money? Be honest. You don't see very many few people who do. So just like they said about influencers, yes, you can make money. But I do it because it's therapy for me. I met you. I met my sister. This is therapy. How many times do you see someone that's cancer? And what happens in our community? Do we bond together? Yes. Think about that.
All right. Any questions?
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa, and I am new to this community, but I love this community. I have no professional dance history, but I'm black. And my family danced all my life. That's all we did. We had no money, but we had a lot of fun. I have to say one thing. Last night, Bam, she split the floor. This style over here, the old style and the new style. I don't remember the song. But we got to do that because I appreciate both styles. And I started teaching down on the Eastern Shore, and I want everybody to get something from it. So if I know this style and I know this style, we include everybody. Thank you last night, baby. Thank you for last night. It was beautiful. This whole thing is wonderful.
regarding what you were talking about, the health aspect of line dancing and community and all that. And if you've been in the church service, you probably heard what I'm getting ready to say real quick. My husband, 2 years ago, 24, 2 weeks before UC 24, he passed out. And he ended up, by the time we figured out what happened and all that, he had a cervical stenosis where they had to put a rod in the back of his neck. But I sat in the room with a neurosurgeon and 2 other very highly respected doctors in Baltimore. And they were saying, well, we think that he has done some exercise. I said, no, wait a minute. Let me show you some video of my husband spinning and turning and every little line dance step that he learned, and it took him in a whole different medical path. They said, oh, no. He goes to acute. We're going to fast track him in physical therapy, and if he can do this, then we can get him back up doing what he's doing. Everybody in this room needs to have somebody videotape you line dancing. So if something happens to you, you can at least show a team of doctors, and they can say, no, we don't have to put him in subacute, where he's going to take longer. Let's fast track him and push him. And that's all because of line dance.
Not sure if I really need this or not, but anyway, I'm just grateful because I've only been coming here, this is my 3rd year that I've been coming here, and I absolutely love it. But I just want to say what Nichol said. One of the things, and people know I'm fast and crazy and wild, whatever they want to say, but when folks come to my class and I'm really fast, I'm grateful because I look for people in my class that can do what I do. So when I move on, I build them instructors because I need to have some, so I take the time when I look. And if I see you're good or I see you can teach, I'm going to push you. Yolanda pushed me to teach. She called me, she said, Vonda, I can't make it, can you teach? And I'm like, what? I only been doing this like 6 months. There were people in there who knew, been dancing for years. But she pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'm grateful because when people come to me, and I know they're beginners, I send them to somebody else because I know me. I don't want them to feel discouraged. That's something we got to be careful of. You get people to come in our class, for those who teach advanced, and I have people in my class 70, 80 years old. I do push them. But if you know that that person is going to feel uncomfortable, take the time, show them somebody else that can be patient with them. And I just want to share one more other thing real quick. One of the things I learned in this line dance world, without our dancers, we're nothing. Because you can have a party and have all the DJs in the world, but if you don't have dancers, you ain't got nothing. That has humbled me to the point that I realized without the dancers, we're nothing. We're gifted, we're talented, God gave it to us, we're all different. We have to embrace that and understand that our gifts and our talents come from God, pass it on to somebody else because we ain't gonna be here forever.
I got a quick, perfect segue. I got a question for the panel. With the emergence of social media, how do we get this new generation to travel, right? They can learn these dances online, they can feel like they at the party because at the live right here. And you look around the room, you see women, right? So it's, the people that travel now are, older. How do we get this new generation to come to the events, come outside?
Okay. So, answering that question, when you say how do you get, I guess travel is not for everybody. And everybody, some people don't like getting on planes. I have an event in Atlanta that none of you all know about. It sells out every year. They don't travel. They stay right in Atlanta and they go. So when that has to be something inner in them that want to do. I know what you want to do. You want to share with them and show them the world. But a lot of them don't want to go. I have friends that say, I'm not going outside of the United States. Won't get a passport. So I think that's just have to be something within them that they want to do. So I don't even know how to answer that question.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Actually, now, one of the things that we do, particularly since we have so many beginners that come in, I've always looked at it as sort of like a stair-step approach. So first you gotta get them introduced to dance. You gotta get them introduced to having friends in the class, to building a network that way. And then once they get into class and they're networking in the class and say, hey, you know, other instructors out here. So now they're networking into a larger group just in the local area. Then when other people are having events, or you can throw an event, then you get them to come out to your event, get them to come out to an all-snap event, or something like that. And that's how you have to grow it, because you can't, you know, like you said, a lot of people don't travel. Now, we've had people who travel with us because we build a relationship with our students that they feel safe traveling with us to different places. And so, and because of that, we get people to go that way. But just having somebody just jump up without having to establish a long-term relationship, it's going to be really hard. And that's what.
And one thing I want to point out, all four of my panel members, they all give nice large events in terms of travel. So when a classroom say, you're a teacher, and you know you're going to go to Cali Jam, you're going to tell your class about it. And that's another way of influencing your class. Hey guys, we're going to Cali Jam and talk, they will travel with you. You're going to go to like Kincade's event. If I'm instructing, I'm in the ball guys, if you give them information, that's another way of communicating with them, let them know that you're going to travel to New Jersey with Kincade's event. Okay?
Right, then when I want to jump in, it's actually what James said. So even if I look at just not young, regardless of how old you are, people typically come to a class and they build relationships with the people in the class, and then they build relationships with the instructors. And then like Louis and I, we were like, hey, we're going so-and-so this weekend. Y'all want to go? We going here this weekend. Y'all want to go? And then, you know, over time, those people, you know, like they kind of, those that spark or want to, like where they get that interest, and then they start traveling by building those relationships. And so for us, like I would say our approach is more like a family approach in our class. Like we act a fool, Louis and I, like we act like husband and wife, and right. And so it's like it becomes like, okay, we're going out of town with our family. It's a family trip. It's a family vacation. And not to say that that's what everybody needs to do, because some people are there like to make, you know, get there, you know, make money, and it feeds their you know, the home, their bills. Like, you know, it actually has a lot to do with the way they make a living. But once they build relationships and start to travel, there's travel. But at the same time, I will say, there's a gentleman, he sponsors several softball teams, DJ Cleve, and he has the TNT Steppers out in South Carolina, but now they've got chapters all over, because he called me, he was like, oh, you're the Detroit chapter? I'm like, oh, that would be, you know. It's not my thing. I'm like, not that young anymore, like I just can't do that. But he will share videos of like the events that they go to, and it looks like a million people out there in the grass, like dancing and having a good time. So I'm just like, so while they're doing that and we're doing this, I'm sure we're gonna get some crossover, but at the end of the day, like we've both found a lane that we're like having the time of our lives in. So like, we just keep it on.
I think I want to make sure I understood Carlos' question. So were you speaking specifically about the steppers / trail riders, how to get them?
No, just the
Just the younger generation. So, and I pretty much will echo everything everybody else has said. You got to get them to buy into what you're doing.
Right.
You can't have them come to the first class and say, oh, we're going to California next week. You got to get them to buy into what you're doing. Once they buy into what you're doing, I don't think it's a thing about everybody don't travel. Some people are scared to travel. They got to enjoy what you're doing. They got to feel like they're a part of what you're doing. They got to feel like they're a part of your organization before they start hanging out with you.
I'll tell you a funny story. Okay. Curtis begged me, like not big, but you know, like on my neck, 4 years in a row about coming to United We Dance. And I was like, this is softball weekend. Nope, this is softball weekend. We played in Indianapolis. He was in Indianapolis. He was like, but it's in Indianapolis. I was like, I don't leave the softball field, but I'm at a tournament. He moved back to Detroit. He finally got me to come down to my first United We Dance. Yeah, that was it.
So one other thing I would just want to say to you, I just thought about it. What I do, Carlos, you say young people. I think it's harder to get seniors to travel. So what I do is I take my seniors to events that I know that they're gonna dance to at. So that might be something too, to think about your class. It's like building that relationship up with them, they'll trust you. I have seniors, then I have junior seniors. So when they're on the bus, we take care of each other as a family thing. So I think that may be something, I don't think it's an age thing, I just think it may be a trust thing, that you just got to build up that trust with them.
Real quick, on your podcast the other day, Stefan was talking about Detroit, and he was talking about Joe Shaw. In Detroit, one person did something, everybody supports everybody. I always tell people, you take care of home first, because you may be the new kid on the block, and everybody will, want to hang with you, but then you step to the people at home, and then there's a new kid on the block, and where are you? You take care of home. You can have, just like Bam said, her people don't travel, her place is packed. You take care of home. And the rest of it come later.
Hi, I'm fairly new too. This is my second time being at the award ceremony, and been doing line dancing pretty consistently for the last 4 to 5 years. And I'd like to piggyback off of what the gentleman said, not only just the youth, but my concern is Black men. Because I know that line dancing is really good for the women, because we don't have a lot of line dancers. So it, to me, it became good. I can go to a party if my husband don't feel like dancing. I can get on the floor and have a good time. But I do feel bad because I just see him sitting over there. So I just wish, and I bug him all the time. I'm like, come on, learn to line dance. And that's what I'd like to know, what the Black men in particular, what is driving you to want to participate in this activity? And do you ever feel like you wish there were more men? And maybe that's where trail riding is going, because I do think that maybe more Black men tend to do that. So that could be our future if we want to be more inclusive, both young and Black men.
95% and 5% and no. Your question, what inspires me to dance? I go somewhere that's 95% women. That's a good population for me to pick from. If there's more men, it reduces my population chances. Just kidding. Listen, but I gotta tell you, years ago when I first started teaching, and at the same time I was in the military, and I was a first sergeant for this unit, and I was trying to get some of the guys in my unit to come to this line dancing event. And they joked me, oh, first sergeant, you wear a tutu. Oh, first sergeant, you do this, you first sergeant. And I eventually got them to come. And they saw 95% women and 5% men. And they said, where did we learn this? So I said that jokingly, but that's the reality. But the thing you have to keep in mind, men don't like to be embarrassed in front of women. So you have to think about that in your class. If you got a guy that's coming to your class and it's 95% women, and you're trying to teach him to step, and he's struggling with it, he's not going to try it in front of all those women, because he don't want to be embarrassed, because he's that macho man. So you have to figure a way to teach the brothers how to dance without embarrassing them in front of the ladies.
One thing I want to say, just as an example, I work at a university. So we find different times to have different type of activities for our students, and of course, folks know on campus, I teach line dancing. So we try to work that into new student orientation and things like that, and it's a stress-free zone, and because of social media, there's an interest to learn. So it's amazing when we've had those types of events, the acceptance or the amount of men that's been receptive just coming out. No, they want to learn because they want to do that in a two-step and be right next to the lady or whomever. So you just gotta find that niche for you. So it may not be this type of event, but it can be something local. It can be something simple. It can be at church. It can vary.
I got one. I was going to ask them. Answer the question or what?
I got a question.
Don't answer that one. Yeah, well, I would have actually asked that question myself to the panel when I'm up here, because it's a nationwide issue. It's actually worse in California. It is very difficult to get men to come out and dance, period. And so I know Kenny has talked about some things. I have started, and I'm getting more men into, I have a beginner class. Literally, we'll take 15 minutes to do a vine step. 4 steps right, 4 steps left. And I do have more men in that class than in any of the others, and I think that is part of the thing. You've got to get an environment together where they're more comfortable to learn the steps and not feel so threatened that I don't look good out here doing this. And so, but it's an issue nationwide. It's one that all of the male instructors in Cali, we have this conversation all the time. How do we get more men out here? And it is a struggle. So, but we're trying.
Hello everybody, my name is Kiana, I'm with 615 Soul, and I just want to respond to Carlos. One of the things that we do in our group, that's kind of what we try to be intentional, is we do day parties. We go to day parties, we plan day parties, and that seems like to come across to our group as one. We pile up in the Soul Shuttle, or we carpooling, and we're going to Alabama, we go to Atlanta, but we also set up our classes to be intentional as well. So we're teaching the classes of the dances of where we're going, but we're also communicating with the host of the event to say, hey, we got a bunch of beginners coming. Like, can you put a little in there? These are the dances that we're going to be doing. But it has made them comfortable. We also, later in the year, we do the wellness reset, where we have an opportunity for them to do something different, but it's also pulling them in to do line dance, and it's open to the community. So when I think about your question and how we can get them started, start simple, maybe day parties in your area. That where it's not too far. But for us, Alabama's 3.5, and we go to Katisha, TES, and then we also go to Demaria, and we go, and we come right back. And even to see them dance, it seems, it's a different feeling. You see different in class. It's like, oh, we've been working on this, because we do semesters. So semester of sweatiness, semester of sexiness, whatever it is, and to put it in perspective, now they have committed to something, and they know that there's something else coming next. And if I want to be able to dance, that's what I love to do. So.
Hi there. My name is Victoria. I've been coming here probably about maybe 10 or 12 years. I've been dancing for about 20. I want to comment about the whole thing with health, the health disparities. And, when it comes to African American people, we have a whole bucket full of stuff going on with us, high blood pressure, diabetes, you name it. When I was teaching at DC Park and Recreation at that time, DC had some of the worst numbers in terms of health ever across the country. And I'm a healthcare administrator, so I was able to pull that information. And so all the line dances was happening in Maryland primarily, but nothing in DC. So I started a line dance curriculum in DC. Some of the instructors are in this room today, and those programs continue to run now, even though I'm no longer the department. In terms of Black men, that always bothered me. I'm glad you brought it up. I was wondering if male instructors here, have y'all maybe put together some sort of program that could be done nationally? I'm talking about all the male instructors, where you can actually go to certain places where they have groups of Black men, where you can talk about those health disparities, as well as the benefits of line dancing, because I don't think they know what those benefits are. Increased circulation in the whole body. We're talking about better memory. We're talking about concentration. We're talking about muscle tone. We're also talking about mental health, which is a huge thing, especially as we get older. Depression becomes higher, and also, especially for Black men who often do to talk about depression or for the most part go get help for it. So that's a whole nother conversation. I want to talk about the youth real quick. So yes, we definitely need more youth to carry on this legacy because a lot of us are getting older. I'm 65, okay? So therefore we need to have that brought in. But the issue is that a lot of us didn't even have parents and things that danced. My mother and father danced all the time. They were in 2 or 3 clubs in Richmond. And they always had me and my sisters out on the floor doing the stuff that they were doing. You know, so it just became a genetic with me, you know, in terms of dancing. Now I'm trying to get my son to line dance. I'm teaching him slowly because he has a different mindset. And a lot of it has to do with social media and everything connected. But I'm telling you at the same time, no, you're missing something that's generational, something that's important in this family, in this tradition. Because I was taught to dance, now you're going to do the same. So don't be surprised if one day I do a workshop and I have them on the stage with me, because that's my goal, okay? But to break it down a little bit, when we talk about young people, we're often talking about people that have come often with broken homes, you know, single parents. We also talk about poverty, okay? We have a lot of that going on. We also talk about how our kids have not been taught how to socialize, which is a huge piece. You know, all of that is missing. We're also looking at young people who don't know how to relate to older people. Now, in our generation, we had mom and dad, we had grandmama, we had granddad, we had auntie, we had all of those connections. The family structure has changed so drastically over the last 30 years and not longer. So we have to look at all of those factors and figure out a plan, a comprehensive plan to bring those young people with us. If it needs mentoring, if it needs doing a rite of passage program or something, okay, so we need to put our minds together because we're brilliant in here. We can figure this out, okay? So that we can move forward. Thank you.
Peace and blessings, everyone. My name is Queen Noor, and I just want to go back to answer a couple of questions and a couple of points. And one is, I'm going to back up what Kenny said about buy-in. Deeper than buy-in is ownership. It's ownership. So you have, the community has to own this discipline, this folk life, this tradition. When they own it, they feel it, they'll be there. And that's what happened with the documentation for the Library of Congress. The community owned it. When we walked out of there, we said, we did this. It's not that it's somebody's event, it's just a special event, but it's ours. No matter what we do, it's ours. No matter what age you are, when you own it, you'll be there because it's yours. And the only other thing I wanted to address was when he talked about ethics, that I will say that doing that documentation, which by the way is in progress, it should come out soon, we'll have our own page. But a lot of the interviewers, the people that I interviewed, talked about the ethics. And so that will be a place where people can go and get information about the history, because the history is important. And the errors, we have to understand there were errors. And Chris Blue said this, we had errors. Even when we talk about Philadelphia, he said how there were different errors. And those errors of history are important. And what came with them are important. And yes, we'll keep some things and we'll let things go. But if we don't talk about what happened yesterday with Sankofa and look back and bring it forward, then it all goes. We have about 5 minutes left. We got a couple more questions and then we're wrapping up.
My name is Marquise from Florida. So the question I have, and I ask this because, you know, watching, observing, and everything else as far as in our community, we're a little bit more resistant in situation when it comes to change, for the most part. And not everybody, but there's some, right? So I had the opportunity to experience one of the trail rider events in South Carolina, Columbia, and I experienced it. I'm not gonna lie, I was amazed, I was blown away. They didn't have any organization. They had the freedom to do whatever they wanted to do. Even the DJ could mix 20 dances, 20 songs on one dance at the same time. And they kept dancing, you know. But I guess for our community, I wonder, are we going to be willing to welcome a community has that much freedom and no boundaries in a sense. Because, you know, they changing everything. They're doing dances to songs that we consider classics and everything else. Like, we even have a hard time even splitting the floor sometimes because somebody didn't know the dance and so on and so forth. So, are we willing to open up to that world from that aspect? Just curious.
I'm curious, why are we so concerned about how they do their party? Why not do our party the way we do our party? And if they come to our party, they will do their dance the way we do our party. But if we go to theirs, we do theirs. Why? And I think about it like this. Again, going back to when I got into it, and I looked at people that left the line dance community, and some of their reasons was because they're not dancing like us anymore. So are we going to stop doing what we do because the trail riders are doing what they do? No. Let them do that. But don't stop doing you. And again, I don't think they know everything that we do. That's why they take a song that we already have a dance to and they put another dance to it. Because they don't know. They don't know what we're doing. Why are we concerned about them that much?
All right, we're going down to our final question because we got to wrap things up. I do have a question. I'm going to get to you, Chris. Social media has introduced us to podcasting. My question is, how is podcasting influencing our line dancing in our community? I know podcasting can be taken so many different ways, but we have a lot of people here doing some positive podcasting, some people doing podcasting that you can question about. But I really believe that podcasting will and does have an impact on our line dance community. Nichol, I want you to start first because I want you to let people know what you already do. It's a good new podcast, okay?
So, I think podcasting thus far has been, it's been great. I know I think I put together a graphic maybe about a month ago now that talks about going back to 2010, how the Urban Line Dance Connection system that I launched, we were doing I guess I'll say paper profiles. So you can go and start to get to know some of the choreographers and get to know some of the dancers. Because for me, when I came in, there were maybe 15 choreographers, and probably fast forward, I said, 98 to 2010, it was like 100 or probably 200 probably so I started to doing that on the Urban Line Dance system just because I wanted people to start to get to know people because the growth was just so huge and I couldn't think of another way to do it. Since then, I kind of put the chronological order, and I can share it with you, Mike, and I can kind of put it in the UC Star Awards Facebook group as well, and I connected with Marquise, I connected with Carlos, I connected with all of those people that were doing those things. So either it was a conversation or a topic, that you really wanted to have a conversation, or it was like trying to get to know people more. For me, what Mike was alluding to, next Tuesday, I actually haven't even posted the flyer, I need to. I feel like we need to have more conversations about topics. Not like it's not great to get to know people, but the conversation we just had around trail riding. And I know there are people on polar opposites of the opinions of what they think it should be and what they think it should not be. And for me, I'm a firm believer, probably this is me pulling from my corporate experience. If we stop, a lot of times when you look at the Urban Soul Line Dancer group, it looks like we're talking at each other about different topics. Like, I don't like this, I don't like things, I don't like the chair rider, this is a classic. Right, and we're talking at each other, but I feel like we need to start having dialogue. And dialogue means listening, active listening, and responding right with intent. And I'm a firm believer that through that process, I do believe people will learn or either raise awareness of both perspectives so that we can learn to appreciate both. And when we do that, we can move forward together as a community. That doesn't mean we're integrated, we're all in the same parties, but at least we can start to get a better level of understanding around those things that seem to be divisive, that don't need to be divisive. And so Real Talk is the podcast Mike was alluding to that we're gonna start to have. And I want people on there that don't think like I think. Like, I want opposing opinions. Because we need to talk to understand why are we on opposite sides. And through that, we'll get a mutual understanding and mutual respect as we move forward.
Okay. Am I answering my question or is it you answering? Okay. So, as a community, we break up our dance levels from beginner, intermediate to advanced, right? As social media is taken on, the community has grown, a lot of our dancing is, I don't want to say overwhelming, but a lot of it is considered beginner, right? So I guess my question to the panel is, how do we encourage people to still be interested in more footwork, intricate dances, to enjoy the different styles of music that we get from different areas? Because a lot of people will see something intricate and they're like, that's too much for me. So how do we sustain that? Because where we came from is footwork intricate, but it's shifted, and that's okay. But how do we remain? How do we keep that involved?
Good question. So that's the last question, okay?
I want to answer actually Chris' question and then your question about the podcast as well. I want to say this about the podcast first, and I'll get to Chris' question. I just want those of you that have your podcast or you're looking to do your podcast, I just want you to keep in mind that you are a self-proclaimed spokesperson for this line dance community. And you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of your podcast? And are you getting to that purpose? Because I've seen some where, to me, the whole idea was to belittle someone. And all you were doing was downgrading various people in the line dance community. And is that what it's really about? So if you're going to be a self-proclaimed spokesperson for the line dance community, figure out what your objective is. And are you getting to that objective, or are you hurting the line dance community just because you want to be seen, heard, or recognized? To Krista's point, I think about, and Queen changed my word, is the buy-in to the ownership. Yes, if you gotta start them, you gotta get them to want to do what you're doing. And if you get the intricate footwork right away that you know they're not gonna get, and they know they're not gonna get, they're gonna try it one time, not succeed, and they're done. Give them, if they buy into the beginner stuff, and then you gradually don't give up and don't throw away the intricate stuff. The buy-in is with the stuff that they can do. You think about it. People, those of you that have been teaching for a while, think about people that come to your class. The people that come to your class that are shy, they start out in the back of the room. They don't want to be seen. They don't want anyone to see them. And then when they learn to dance a year later, or not even a year, 6 months later, they're on the front line. And then the other thing you got to think about, just because they're not doing an intricate step, they're spinning on a grapevine. And they think they did something better than the baddest thing in the world. And they did, because you were the same way. Allow them to have their moment. And then as they start having their moment, you then recognize, oh, he's ready for the next step.
Yeah, but I also feel, to Chris's question though, I put myself in that category. So it's like, oh my God, Nicole, you have no easy dances. And so, sometimes it's like, yeah, that dance didn't make it, it was just too much. It's too much for people to grab. But crescendo, in my mind, was a very good example of an advanced dance, but when it was done in a large group, and it made every kind of dancer want to learn. So for me, I feel like those choreographers out there, like myself, like you, that create those type of dances, like we gotta continue to create those type of dances, because dancers at events like this and places that we go, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 that see it and then they actually want to challenge themselves. So when we stop offering it, they're gonna stop buying it. And so even though sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, for me, it feels like, all right, look, yep, you did it again. You put too many of this in this 152 counts, and yep, no one's gonna do it. And you get to a party, you probably won't do it unless you go somewhere, those things. However, I'm not gonna stop, and I don't think we stop. I think we continue, and I think that those that want to challenge themselves and see something that they like, I think they're gonna challenge themselves, and we just continue to push forward. Even if that number grows smaller, we're still getting, getting what we need.
Thank you. Thank you, fam. Hey, Mike, please stand and thank my panel. Thank my panel very much. Kincade, Nichol, Bam, Jim, thank you very much. Good for our next edition. We'll have some fresh people next year. Thank you very much for coming.